Okay, great. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate seeing you all here this morning, your bright smiling faces. It must be springtime. It's a great time of year. We love it, and we're excited to have you all here with us today. Today is Tuesday, the 28th day of April of 2015, and this is the regular meeting of the Board of Weber County Commissioners, held today at 10 a.m. We'll begin with an invocation, which will be offered today by my bride, my sweetheart, Katrina Gibson, who isn't able to attend with us very often during the day, but was able to come today. So we're grateful that she was willing to do that. After that, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by our Chief Deputy Clerk Auditor, Lynn Taylor. And the thought of the day will be offered by Commissioner Gibson. Katrina?
Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful this day to be gathered today as community members to come and support this form of government that we cherish so dearly. We're grateful for those who have put time and effort into this meeting and for our elected officials. We ask you to bless their families and their homes as they perform their duties. We're grateful for this time of year, that we can see thy creations blossom and unfold, and for the moisture that we have recently received that we have been greatly in need of. We ask thee to bless those who are conducting today or presenting, that they may have the Spirit with them to guide them and direct them in their actions and in their speech, that they may feel good about the things that they have done. We ask you to bless us as citizens to not be complacent, but that we will take an active part and role in what is happening in a respectful way. Again, we're grateful for all that we have been blessed with, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Against, please rise. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Katrina, for that beautiful prayer. I feel better already. And thank you, Lynn, for leading us in that Pledge of Allegiance. Helps us to remember how grateful we are to live in this great land. Our thought of the day today is one that I've heard different variations of this little phrase quite a few times over the years. But this one is paraphrased from one of our own local one of our local friends, and it was forwarded to us through Bob Hunter, who we recognized last week as one of our heroes, through his what does he call that? Keepers quotes. And this is paraphrased from Sandy Crosland. So many of you know her, and here's what she had to say about vinegar versus honey. It says, in human relationships, vinegar may work once, but only once. Use vinegar in recipes, use honey in relationships. I thought that was a good reminder for all of us. I read that at home and I got the look a few times, so apparently I needed it worse than most. So thank you. Thanks to Sandy for providing that for us. All right, we're going to begin with our presentations, and we're going to move item number 1 down below item number 3. So we'll begin with our item number 2 under presentations, which is the presentation by the Board of Health on the services of the Weber Morgan Health Department that they provide and promote for the benefit for the community living in Weber County. And so we have with us today Mr. Brian Benyon, the Director of the Weber Morgan Board of Health. And as you know, we've been doing these presentations as part of our County Government Month. And with County Government Month, our desire has been to help educate the people in our community as much as we can about some of the critical roles that are filled by our county government. And oftentimes, as I've mentioned before, I've found that there's a lot of people who don't realize some of the things that the county county government is charged with doing and how important it is. And this is one of those areas that is critical to the health and well-being of our community. And we have joined together with Morgan County by way of interlocal agreement to create this health department, and by so doing have provided some really important and necessary services, I think, for those two counties. Recently, within the last about year, is that right?
Yes, just a little over a year. Yeah.
Brian Benyon has come on board as our director, and we are so grateful to work with him and for the effort that he puts forward. It's obvious that he has great support because I see a lot of his staff and employees here with us today. That's okay. We're grateful that they're all here to support, and we recognize that each and everything that you're going to tell us today and a whole bunch more can only be successful because of the things that they do. So we appreciate all of you being here. And we'll turn the time over to you, Brian, to give us a report.
Oops. Guess I got to go back. Sorry.
Just left click on that area there.
Okay. Well, there we go. Thank you. Want to talk a little bit about our local health department, and some people get confused when we start talking about the Centers for Disease Control and the Utah State Health Department. But in Weber County and Morgan County, we have a local health department, and that's really where the rubber meets the road. And but not only do we have a local health department, we really have a local public health system as we work with mass transit, as we work with the school districts, as we work with the hospitals. It's very important that it's just not the health department that's responsible for the community's health, that we have a lot of community partners that help us do that. And C. Everett Koop said this. He said, healthcare, and you probably recognize that name if you're as old as I am, but he was the Surgeon General for the U.S. back in the 80s, and he said healthcare matters to all of us some of the time, but public health matters to all of us all of the time. And that's a really true statement. So if we just take what in our daily life, we got up this morning and we brushed our teeth, and we take for granted that we're going to have clean water, and that's public health. And as a local health department, we inspect the water supply systems. We drove here, and we obey certain traffic laws, and one of those is to use our seatbelt and not text while we're driving. That's public health. We enjoy this nice building, and it's smoke-free because of the Utah Indoor Clean Air Act, and that's public health. We're free from communicable disease most of the time, and because of immunizations that help protect us, that's public health. If we go out to lunch today, we're going to eat in a restaurant, and we know that that's inspected, it's permitted by our local health department, public health. And we often hear on the news about outbreaks. Recently there was an outbreak on measles, and that was contained. The local health departments as well as the state and CDC all worked on containing that to limit those for that outbreak. So that's public health. So public health impacts us daily. And just a little perspective, if you go back to the early 1900s, there were about 8,000 cars in the U.S., only 10 miles of concrete pavement, few spray cans. We ate relatively natural food. And the environment was relatively unpolluted. However, there were no atomic wastes or PCBs, and our average life expectancy at that time was only 47. The year was 1900. So today, some people would say, hey, we're not doing everything quite right. We're doing everything wrong. But the life expectancy is up to actually 78. And if we're not careful, it may hit 90. So we are doing a lot of things right, and we ought to celebrate that. And some of the great public achievements that are responsible for increasing this lifespan, 25 of those 30 years are public health programs. Vaccinations I've mentioned, and the eradication of smallpox and polio. And we give vaccinations every day in our clinic. Motor vehicle safety, as was mentioned, and we talk a lot about seat belts, and we have car seats, and that's public health achievement. Safer workplace. Many of us have heard about the black lung exposures and those sort of problems. Control of infectious disease was huge. Clean water and improved sanitation. We have programs in environmental health that deal with clean water, safe drinking water, and how we dispose of our wastewater. As you look at the decline in coronary heart disease and stroke, we have programs in health promotion that help with helping people quit smoking. We educate them, we take blood pressure, we work with them in our clinics to help them improve their healthy behaviors. Safer and healthier food, and I've already mentioned about restaurant inspectings, permitting. We do food handler classes so that these things happen. Healthier mothers and babies. We have a wonderful WIC program that helps those young mothers with their children and educates them and helps them get the food that they need. And one of the great public health achievements was recognition of tobacco as a health hazard. And that was recognized in '64 by the Surgeon General, and we continue to work on that. This past year, along with the Board of Health, we passed a regulation that prevented youth access to both tobacco and e-cigarettes. And so we want you to know of all of our great services that we're very proud of. We issue birth and death records. We have the clinical services that I've talked about, our WIC program, our environmental program, talked about the restaurant and drinking water, but we also do pool inspections, and we respond to hazardous waste problems. Emergency preparedness, we're very involved in the community, making sure that we're prepared if there's any outbreaks. And our health promotion, we're always advocating for tobacco cessation programs, prevention. Safe Kids Day was very successful this past week. So those are some of the things that we do. We have wonderful staff, and we enjoy working and living in this community. Okay.
Great.
I'd like to say thank you to Brian. I thought it was really important for us to have an overview of some of the departments we have within the county and what they offer and what they actually accomplish. We hear about them a lot, but sometimes we don't really understand the scope and breadth of what they actually do for us. So I'm appreciative of Mr. Benyon and for his staff who have been fabulous. So thank you.
I'll second that motion. Commissioner Bell, would you like to third that?
Absolutely. We had a presentation last night. We spent a couple hours, and they were a great presentation, and on some of the different things that they're doing in our health department. They are very good about getting the information out there. I appreciate them. They get that public relations and that in the newspaper, and they're in there all the time and do that, and we appreciate them doing that. So thank you, Brian.
Okay, appreciate that. That was a good report, and we always have a lot of exciting issues. I was really excited to get the e-cigarette regulation passed, and I think that was a positive step forward. So we appreciate your leadership in that, Brian, and your staff. Okay, we're going to move on then to item number 3, which is our State of the County address. This is an opportunity to talk for just a minute about some of the things that are going on in the county. It's also an opportunity, I think, to reflect on some of the positive things that have happened over the last year and some of the challenges as well. And so it's kind of been a tradition. Before I start, I just wanted to remind you and thank especially Commissioner Ebert, who has kind of led out with this County Government Month this year. As you have probably heard, we have had this initiative put forward by the National Association of Counties, who we are affiliated with through our Utah Association of Counties, and of course Weber County, that has put out some information for us to try and educate folks about the importance of counties and county government in their lives. And we have taken that to our own step. Commissioner Ebert has taken the initiative to ask for these reports, and we've gone so far as well to recognize some heroes throughout the county during this month. We've talked about it quite a bit. We realized that was designed around the first week around April and County Government Month, but we're going to talk about it a lot in the future. We're going to keep talking about the things that are important. One of the things we want to do is to highlight a business of the week, because we know that our businesses are so vital to the economic prosperity here in our county. So we're going to do a little bit of that too. So again, stay tuned. We've got a lot coming down the pike, a lot of opportunities coming. So wanted to make that clear. So to our state of the county. I want to first thank you, my fellow commissioners, and all of you friends for giving me the opportunity to serve here in this capacity. I have been extremely blessed over my life to have had the opportunity to serve in many different capacities, but this has been clearly one of my favorites. I have loved being involved in county government, where I am convinced that the rubber really hits the road. There is so much connection to the people who we love and serve here in our county government. It's much more rewarding to me than in other levels of government where I've served, and so I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to do so. And as the chair of the commission, it's my pleasure this year to have the opportunity to report on the state of our county, and fortunately, that's a great job, because I can emphatically say that the state of our county is extremely strong. We are busy, we are optimistic, and I am convinced that our future is brighter than it has ever been. Weber County has become one of the premier locations in the nation, especially in the Intermountain West, to live and to do business. There is nothing typical about Weber County by any stretch of the imagination. Our rich mountain to metro personality derives from a unique balance of cultural venues and arts, independently owned restaurants, farmlands, over 450 miles of trails, exciting nightlife, all with the backyard access to year-round high adventure and recreation in the beautiful Wasatch Mountain Range. Our diverse landscape is absolutely stunning. From the majesty of the mountain peaks in the Upper Ogden Valley to the beautiful marshlands of the Great Salt Lake, from the foothills of the Uinta Highlands to the heartwarming production of food and fiber in our farmlands to the west, our beautiful North Fork Park, Fort Buenaventura, the Golden Spike Event Center, the Weber County Ice Sheet, and the countless recreational facilities in the county, they all provide us with opportunities for everyone in our community to get out and do the things that they love the most. We are blessed with a unique and pristine opportunity to live, work, and play all in the same community. And my question to you is, how could it be any better? I can't imagine living in a community that I would more love to represent. This is an easy sell for me. I thank my Heavenly Father every day for the opportunity to live here, for placing me here in this great place, especially at this important time in our history. Weber County has seen a resurgence of life in the recent months. Our capital city has been completely changed for the better since the reopening of the LDS Temple in downtown Ogden. We want to especially thank the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for their tireless commitment to help us rebuild, both economically and spiritually. As a result of the Temple Open House, Weber County welcomed nearly 1 million visitors to our neighborhood. More than any single event in our county's history, even the Olympics. And we had the chance to introduce them all to the things that make us a happy and content society. They also make us unique, authentic, and genuine in all that we do. As a result of many people working hard in their own businesses, cities, and areas of responsibility, we have seen economic prosperity that is the envy of the nation. Best place to live and work, best place to do business, best place for recreation and family, best place for charitable giving and service. These are just a few of the phrases that have been used to describe our community recently. And the best is yet to come, because our future is so bright. As a county commission, we are completely united in the purpose, and we're focused like a laser on these issues in which our local government can make a difference. We will not lose our focus, and we will not rest until Weber County is again the economic powerhouse of the strongest state in the Union. In order to achieve this success, we must increase and improve our relationships and collaboration with our other partners. We no longer have the ability or the luxury of living in a bubble. Every organization, government entity, and individual must coordinate our efforts to gain maximum results. We recognize and appreciate the great working relationships with all of our mayors and legislators. As our partners in economic development for our community, Weber County will lead the effort. We've developed a plan of attack that will ensure that all of our assets are recognized regionally and help us to make certain that we minimize duplications of effort among local governments so that every resource can be used to its full potential. Nearly 250,000 people call Weber County home, and most would prefer to work right here in Weber County as well. We work with any and all who create jobs here to help them provide the fertile soil that is necessary for that job creation. Many times, it requires an active participation on the part of the county, and sometimes it also means just getting out of their way and allowing businesses to do what they need to do by minimizing the effects of overburdensome regulation. So we're always trying to find that balance between what we can and should do actively and how we can minimize those burdens. Because in the end, economic prosperity is truly what we desire. As the father of 6 wonderful children, I am constantly concerned with how their future will look. Will their future be brighter than ours? Will they be able to earn a good living right here in our community? What about the quality of their lives and their recreational opportunities? To answer these questions in the affirmative, we must plan well, and we must think ahead. Investments in our future and our infrastructure will be crucial to our success. We'll be required to construct roads, buildings, and water projects. With 80% of our growth coming from within, it is our own children and grandchildren that will be the beneficiaries of our foresight. It'll be painful at times to spend the time and resources that will be necessary to focus on these needs. But I promise that this commission will always focus on those things that we are convinced will be a good investment for our constituents. Just like brushing your teeth or preventative dental care, even though it's a pain sometimes, we recognize that it saves us millions of dollars in the end to tackle our challenges head on and make sure that we do preventative work so that we're not stuck dealing with the challenges afterward that come from neglect. So, as commissioners, we have the opportunity to serve as the executives of this county. We have worked very, very hard to be fiscally responsible with taxpayers' money. To us, we see it as a public trust and a sacred trust. It's your money, and we are committed to using it wisely. As things got tough financially over the past few years, like they did in our own household budgets, we all had to cut back. We resisted the urge that most people can't to enhance our income through tax increases. We've maintained a flat general fund budget and managed better and smarter instead of simply asking for more from the taxpayers. All county taxpayers actually received a tax decrease, an average of $10 per $100,000 home, or $18 per $100,000 in commercial value. That was part of our great sheriff's initiative to realign the costs of service to our cities. We have healthy fund balances that exceed the industry standards. What a blessing it was for me to sit in on our bond rating meetings with the bond agencies and hear them talk about how wonderful it was to work with a county that is so well managed financially. We recently received, as a result of those visits, a AAA bond rating for the second consecutive year. We've been told that we are one of only 7 counties west of the Mississippi with this type of rating. Again, we are so grateful for all who put forth so much time and effort to make sure that every T is crossed and every I is dotted to keep those funds as sacred as we know that they are to our taxpayers. This excellent bond rating has allowed us to issue and refinance bonds at a much, much lower rate, saving the taxpayers millions of dollars over the life of the bonds. We simply can do so much more with so much less because of that sound, strong, and steady financial management. This commission is united as well and working very, very hard to increase transparency to the public in all that we do. You may have already noticed some of these changes that have taken place over the last year, over the last few months. First of all, we're very, very proud, as you've heard us talk before, that we've finally stepped up our technology game. That was a little harder for some of us than others, and I'm still struggling with it. But we are doing our very, very best. In January, Weber County became the first of any county in the state of Utah to live stream all of our commission meetings. This means that the public can tune in and see for themselves exactly what we're discussing, presenting, and approving in real time. Those meetings are also archived for easy access at any time from your home computer. We are a little behind the state in this endeavor, but we are so proud that we were able to lead the way on behalf of counties. And now we find that there are many, many counties looking to follow the same path because they've seen that it's been a tremendous success for us. We're so thankful. Secondly, more financial details are being presented in our public meetings so that anyone who wants to be involved has access to all the financial data and they can understand exactly how their money is being spent. Again, remembering that it's their money to begin with. We're just guardians for a short time. We're currently redesigning our county website so that it's simpler and more user-friendly. We want the public to have all access to see what their elected officials are doing with their money. We want the website to be interactive so that individuals and businesses can work virtually with us rather than always having to come to this location and conduct their business. We know that times are changing. As county officials, we're not only policymakers, but we're public service attendants. And you, the public, are our clients and our directors. So if you work for Weber County, I hope you've heard this mantra that we've been talking about nonstop since January 1st. It's about public service. We recognize who we serve and who we work for. And our hope and our goal is to make sure that every one of you has the ability to conduct business in an appropriate manner and that we adapt to the new ways of doing things. We have an awful lot of tremendous public servants, and many of them are in the room today. With the enhanced innovation, technology, and hard work, we will continue to seek opportunities to improve the quality of life here in Weber County. There are so many things happening right now, and none of them can happen without the great public servants that serve us on a daily basis. Every single public employee is important to us and our well-being. They've continually been asked to do more with less, and they have risen to the occasion. I couldn't be more proud of them. We hope that they recognize how much we appreciate them, and we do our very, very best to give them, to approve appropriate increases to their salaries so that they can recognize how much they mean to us. We recognize that we never can quite pay them enough for the good work that they do, and we hope that they can feel our appreciation in other ways as well. So I'm hoping that they're hearing me today when I tell them how much I'm grateful and how much we appreciate them. Our elected officials are top-notch as well. Can't imagine a more impressive group of people to work with from top to bottom. I mentioned some of these last year, but these elected officials just continue to be at the absolute top of their game wherever they go and whatever they do. And I want to mention them each today. John Bond. Pretty hard to imagine the Treasurer's Office without John Bond. What an ultimate professional. Recognized again so many times as excellent in his field. He's been recognized as the Treasurer of the Year by his peers in the Utah Association of Counties, and just continues to be a stalwart example of solid financial management. Unbelievable what we could do without, I can't imagine that office without John Bond. What a great guy. Barry, the Assessor of the Year, recently elected as the UAC First Vice President, will follow me this coming year as the President of the Utah Association of Counties. To me, that is very, very impressive. Maybe even more impressive, definitely more impressive for him, because it is a little bit more difficult as an affiliate to reach that position. And he has done a tremendous job of helping people to buy into his vision of what we should do as a united group of counties to move forward and further our direction. Very, very grateful to work with him, and if you talk to his employees, I think you'll find that he is very well respected among them and among all of his peers. Ricky Hatch was recently, again, recognized as the Clerk Auditor of the Year, and just all-around wonderful guy. He's not here today, and so Lynn, we hope that you'll pass that on to him. Our newly elected Recorder Surveyor, Leanne Kiltz, is doing a tremendous job stepping into a very, very difficult situation. She has found unique opportunities and unique ways to unite an office and to make that office function in the best manner possible. She has a very unique way of communicating with people, and when people get to know her, they love her. And I am glad to be counted among one of those. Chris Allred, our newly elected county attorney, has been in this office for a while, but he has now taken on these heavy responsibilities and continues to do an amazing job. Their office has had great success in protecting the rights of all of the citizens in our county, protecting their civil rights and constitutional rights. And under his leadership, even before he was elected as the county attorney, much of this took place. He had heavy responsibilities before, and now has stepped up to the plate and has hit the ball across the fence. He's just hit the ground running, and we're very, very proud of him. Our sheriff, Terry Thompson, under his leadership, the sheriff's office continues to be a sought-after agency, a role model agency among all others in the state. It's so wonderful for me as I spend time at the state legislature and at the Capitol to hear everybody talk about the Weber County Sheriff's Office and how they wish that theirs could be a little more like ours. He's been creative in the way that he's handled programming for individuals in our jail. He's been a wonderful sheriff in a lot of different ways, but I'm grateful to call him my sheriff. I slipped up just the other day and said Sheriff Slater called Sheriff Slater sheriff. Of course, we all know that he still lives in our neighborhood, and he was our sheriff. But Sheriff Thompson is my sheriff, and I'm very, very proud to have him as a friend, call him a friend, and I'm even more proud of the great work he's doing in his office and his staff. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention as well specifically the contributions of these two great commissioners today by my side. Commissioner Ebert has only been here for a few months, but he has lit the world on fire. He has done a wonderful job. In the past few months, he's already made a tremendous positive impact in so many different areas, and I think you've heard about a lot of those already. And Commissioner Bell continues to work extremely hard and protect the interest of his constituents first and foremost. He's one of those individuals that you can always find standing up for those things that he believes in. And he always, even though he knows how to compromise, he knows how to communicate, he always stands on the principle that he knows to be true. And I'm so grateful for that example for me. These are good people who I've grown to love, all of them. And I know that they have the best interest of Weber County in their hearts and in their minds. And I thank them for their service, all of them. This commission is not a sit-on-their-hands commission. We have a lot of energy. We're willing to work extremely hard, and we are. And most of all, we have great enthusiasm and optimism for all of the things that are going on here in Weber County. And we're determined to continue to make it better. They, along with all of the public servants that I've mentioned before, are all heroes to me. This year, the commission has recognized a few of these heroes throughout our commission meetings during the month of April as a way of bringing everyday acts of goodness to light. We've honored business people, teachers, and community advocates. There are others here today. One of our friends, who I have recently come to call a dear friend, Laura Warburton, is here with us today. She recently had her family's life changed forever with the tragic death of her daughter Hannah, who was lost to suicide. Laura could have easily chosen shouldn't have looked at you. Could have easily chosen an easier path. But instead chose one of advocacy and education and love. Her efforts, along with those of the Standard Examiner and many others, media outlets and friends and neighbors, have brightened the future for so many of our young people. She recently created an educational charity appropriately titled Living Hannah's Hope that will educate and provide resources to so many of those in need. There's no doubt that Hannah's legacy will save countless lives. I'm grateful to announce today that educational foundation, Living Hannah's Hope, as well as the Women's Retreat House, have been chosen as the beneficiaries for our Weber County Charity Golf Tournament in August. My hope and our hope as a commission is that many will join with us and open their hearts to address the challenges that face our youth. If you're not a golfer, join us anyway for lunch. Donate a few dollars. Help this thing get going so that we can make a difference with Laura and her family and both of these great organizations that will help to educate and make a difference for these youth in our community. The other hero I want to recognize is our dear friend Nate Hutchinson, who's here with us today on the back row, as usual. Nate's a good man and a good friend. We've talked about him before, but we've never had the chance and the opportunity to appropriately that I appropriately recognize him in this forum for his efforts. We love him from the bottom of our hearts, as we do all of our men and women in uniform. As you remember, Lieutenant Hutchinson courageously rushed towards danger in an attempt to rescue his fallen comrades not too many years ago. He's a hero to me. He's never asked for recognition, and even though his sacrifice has been very public, most of the time when he wished it wasn't, he has been very gracious in accepting the honors that have come to him, many times simply with just the shrugging of his shoulders and saying, they would have done it for me. Or what else would I have done? He literally took bullets for us so that we can sit here today in peace and safety, recognizing the things that are important to us. And every time that I see him, I think of the many other unheralded acts of heroism that I see and hear and feel from so many of you all of the time, so frequently. Most of the time, it's just ordinary people like you and me and our children and grandchildren going about their daily work with courage and honor and joy, just doing our best to make the world a happy place and a better place to live. It's people like this that I have the opportunity to work with and rub shoulders with every single day. This is the best job in the world. I absolutely love it, and I am so grateful to serve with each and every one of you. May we continue to work hard and be proud of who we are and what we are, to be proud to be involved in Weber County government. My prayer is that we continue to work hard to make our forefathers proud, those who have come before. May we plan as they did. May we serve as they did to create a community that our children can be proud of, and to make more of our future and future generations. May we make just a little less of ourselves as we think of them. I offer a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you for your contributions. May we work together to make Weber County even a better place to live than it already is. Thank you very much. Commissioner Bell?
I want to take just a second or two. I want to, first of all, I appreciate Commissioner Gibson and his leadership, and he didn't know I was going to do this, but Commissioner Gibson is not only a leader of our commission here, but Commissioner Gibson's also the president of our Utah Association of Counties. He was elected by our group, and he directs that in our state. He's also involved in many other boards and committees and assignments, and the integrity and the amount he works and the effort he puts in for doing these other assignments. He has been a great leader. It's been a pleasure to work with Commissioner Gibson, and we appreciate his service, and we know that he takes a lot away from his family. His great wife's here, and she's truly a saint. There's no question. They have 6 kids, and my daughter, and actually Commissioner Ebert's kids live out there too. And so we know that he's not around often, because I was with him yesterday morning, very first thing, before 8, and we were still together last night by around 7. And
I dropped him at the house at 8:30.
okay, at 8:30. So those are the things that Commissioner Gibson, and he works extremely hard and to get things and to do things for our county. Commissioner Ebert has been new. I've known Commissioner Ebert for a lot of years, and he's new in office, and it's been a joy to work with him. We have to remind him to slow down just a tiny bit occasionally, and to keep the contests at a minimum. But we are having a great working relationship there. This commission is united. We are united, and we work extremely close. But you need to know that we don't agree on everything, and we have some very interesting discussions, and we continue to discuss and to work things to do what's the very best for Weber County. So it's been a pleasure to serve with this commission. It's been, as Commissioner Gibson has said, this has been the most interesting, fun job that I've ever had, and we get to work with so many great people. We have our staff in the county that are extremely busy doing a lot of different projects. There's nearly 1,000 employees in Weber County, and we put a lot on their plate, and they have a lot on their plate already to take care of our taxpayers and our citizens. So we are the people they call when people aren't happy, and we turn them over to the other elected officials that Commissioner Gibson talked about. And I don't ever recall that most of those folks at the end of the day have been taken care of. They may not like the answers that they ended up with at the end of the day, but they have been treated with respect and dignity. So our elected officials are phenomenal. And you have a group here in Weber County that work together, and we work really close together. And so we appreciate that. But we appreciate the leadership that we have here and that Weber County sets in a national stage as well as in our state stage. And we bring that with Commissioner Gibson and Commissioner Ebert, and we focus on those things to make things better, not just for Weber County, but where we can for the state and for our nation, where we are more secure and where we have more freedoms. And that we look at it when we start making decisions. We wonder if this is going to affect freedom of people and affect their ability to be able to pay for it. So we weigh these things very closely as we do that. So appreciate serving with these two fine young men. They're young because they're younger than I am, so I appreciate that. So thank you.
Someone called me the oldest commissioner the other day. I'm not sure what that meant.
It's because of your haircut.
That's what I thought.
And the light above your head, I mean, there's a glare that you just can't believe.
like a
And it's
halo.
not a halo, just so you know.
I know, if you tell me what you're going to say, sometimes I won't give you the floor.
I know, that's why I didn't
Shouldn't.
tell you.
So you shouldn't tell me.
I know, that's why I didn't.
But I do appreciate your kind remarks. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ebert, do you want to add anything?
Well, I'm not going to offer a bunch of platitudes, but I am going to say that we have a very strong vision, and we are laying out a plan to meet the present and future needs. And I want the citizens to know that we'll work diligently to make that happen, to accomplish that. We're creating a culture, we're creating an organizational structure, and we have a plan that we will follow with fidelity to make that happen. And I hope the citizens, that gives them some comfort. I hope that gives them some direction, and I hope they know that we're working diligently to make that happen. It's not just about being a commissioner. That's just a title. A young man said, "It's leadership isn't a title. It's a service. It's a responsibility, and we take that serious." So, again, all the great and kind words that have been said are wonderful and much appreciated. But we have a purpose, and what I always say to people is now it's time to get to work, and that's what we're doing.
I'll tell you what, that reminds me, if any of you haven't had the chance to watch that young man, Spencer Holliday, who spoke to us last week in commission meeting, please go back and watch that YouTube shot of him giving that speech on leadership. You will recognize that we are in good hands in the future. What a great young man. It was absolutely awesome. So that's last week's commission meeting on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. His name is Spencer Holliday, young man that gave that speech on leadership. Absolutely wonderful. All right, let's move on then with our agenda, which is the final presentation, the presentation of the Weber County Hero Award. And so this will be your opportunity, Commissioner Ebert, to to talk about this fine individual who is so deserving of this award. It's all yours.
And I agree 100%. I've had the great opportunity to introduce each of our heroes, and Commissioner Bell requested, actually, because of the relationship, to present this. So I will just actually turn the time over to Commissioner Bell to do this.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to have the sheriff come up and say a few things about Nate. I met Nate quite a few years ago. I had an opportunity to have a new assignment change, and Nate was he was a sergeant with the sheriff's office at the time. I had been a lieutenant for a while, and we had an opportunity to work together for a while, and I gained a great respect for him. So I asked the sheriff if he'd come up for a few minutes and say a couple things about Nate. He's been working with him on a regular basis, and Nate's a good friend, and just one of the great folks that we have with our great sheriff's office. So, Sheriff.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Bell, for giving me a few minutes. Yeah,
Before you do that, why don't we have Nate come stand by you?
Come on up, handsome.
That's a great idea.
He's got all that fancy
Doesn't he look
jacket
good?
on and all that
All
shiny,
that shiny stuff.
See, if he stands up here, then everybody can see him on the YouTube channel. If I would have said that again at first, he wouldn't have come. So
That's true. That's true. Yeah, no, he does. He looks great today, and love having him up here. And thank you, commissioners, for giving me the opportunity to say just a little bit about Nate. Just as I get into that, let me just say, Commissioner Gibson, that was a wonderful state of the county. Thank you so much, and very heartfelt. And I think I speak for all of us here, makes us very proud to be a part of the team here. And I want you to know how much I personally appreciate being part of the great team here at Weber County. And so thank you. I appreciate that. And by the way, Sheriff Slater is my sheriff too. So he always will be. So you just always carry that title with you. So reference Lieutenant Hutchinson today, and Commissioner Gibson did a nice job of kind of laying out some of the summary of the ordeal that took place in January of 2012. And most of us are fairly familiar with that, so I won't go into a lot of detail either. Other than to just kind of touch on it in a similar fashion. As we all know, that was a horrendous tragedy in our community that day. And bottom line is, Lieutenant Hutchinson knowingly, willingly, and voluntarily put himself directly into the line of fire of an active killer. And not just once, but repeatedly, in an effort to save the lives of his fellow law enforcement officers, his brothers, that night. And tragically, we lost a life that night, Officer Jared Frankham. However, it was not for a lack of effort on many of their parts, certainly on Lieutenant Hutchinson's part, to provide the protection that he needed that night. And I am absolutely convinced that some of the other officers that are here with us today, still alive and doing the job, and miraculous miracles taking place in those officers that have returned to full duty. And I'm convinced that without Lieutenant Hutchinson's actions, they would not be here with us today. So it would be virtually impossible for us to really adequately lay out the courageous and brave actions and behavior that Lieutenant Hutchinson exhibited that day. And there's no question that he saved some lives, and we're so grateful for that. And let me add, so very grateful for him being here, because we know that in uniform, law enforcement and military, we sign that check. And we're willing, I say we as in a group in general, military law enforcement, are willing to pay that ultimate price, if necessary, for the protection of the citizens that we serve. And Nate was certainly willing to do so that night. And we are just so grateful that in the end that did not turn out to be the case. And we're happy to have him here. And we just wouldn't know what to do without having him around to just tease and badger on a regular basis. It really makes our day. He's a good man. Subsequent to that event, he has really received some very prestigious local, state, and national honors, and was recognized as one of the National Law Enforcement Memorial Officers of the Month in 2013. Last year received the Congressional Badge of Bravery. Just incredible. And this last February went back to Washington, D.C. to receive the President's Medal of Valor. In a country of 800,000 police officers, that is very unique and quite rare. And Nate is undoubtedly one of the highest decorated officers anywhere, certainly here in Utah. But you know, even better, he's a wonderful coworker, friend. You said that very well, Commissioner. Father, brother, son, and just a pleasure to work with. You just never catch this guy without a smile. And he's pleasant to be around, very happy, optimistic, and just a wonderful attitude that makes him a joy to really serve with. And for all of those reasons, I am grateful for the opportunity I've had to be able to call him a friend and to work with Nate. And with that, I present you Lieutenant Nathan Hutchinson. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate all the kind words. I have been fortunate to be recognized a few times, and you would think I'd start to get used to the fuss, but I really am not. So I'm not eloquent in these talks. I just want to say a few things. From a little kid, I always wanted to be a police officer, and I always wanted to work for the sheriff's office. I liked the sheriff's office, and I always looked up to it. And then being in the organization of the sheriff's office, I love it. I love the sheriff's office. I love Weber County. You just gave the state of the county address, and I couldn't agree with you more. Working for the county has been a tremendous honor for me, and I've been taken care of from day one, not just because of the actions on January 4th, but I've been taken care of my entire career, and I truly appreciate that. I appreciate each one of you. Again, I'm not particularly eloquent, and I really wasn't hoping that you guys would make me talk, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else you'd like to add? I know you've got some news
Well,
clippings and that, but I think those.
Well, I'm not going to read. I just want to, in a time, in a culture where, for whatever reason, we continually hold up maybe the negatives or maybe the things that, or we talk about continually, the things that aren't positive within our culture or our communities. It's important for us to have positives. It's important for us to have heroes. It's important for us to have role models. And so I hope that you never get bored or get tired, because this is an opportunity for us to celebrate truly the positives of humanity that we all need to be reminded of. And as a profession, I hope all of our law enforcement continues to live to a standard that promotes that and that highlights that, and that we can look forward and to our law enforcement community to be that flag bearer of what we should be, and of valor and of courage. I'm very proud of our law enforcement community, and I'm very proud of you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bell, anything else? Well, I just say in closing, you know, it's we all take our own types of arrows at times. Yours were real bullets. I realize that's a lot different, but what I've found is that this is the kind of guy I want on my wing, on my back, when I find myself in trouble. And I think commissioners all recognize that and respect that. but I think, isn't that really the type of people that we have in our community? I look around and I see so many of you that I think emulate these same traits. And Nate, thanks for being willing to stand up and be that example and put up with this, even though it is so uncomfortable for you. We love you and we congratulate you on this award.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Everybody, smile. Thank you. Do you want to get the rest of the, got some other sheriff's department folks?
Yeah, everybody in uniform, come on out.
And labor, and just walked out.
Okay. Maybe Lane?
I'm in there, Lane. We want to see you in the
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Thank you. Awesome. 1, 2. Let me get one more. Thank you.
Thanks, Lane.
Well, we have a lot of work to do, and we could do without a lot of it, some of the dumb speeches and stuff, but I'll tell you what, that's what makes it worthwhile for me right there. That's heaven as far as I can tell here on earth, so thank you, Nate, for all your effort. Okay, we're going to move on to our consent items. Item number 1 is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $85,691. Request for approval of warrants number 320416 through 320769 in the amount of $4,657,166.65. Request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on April 21st of 2015. Request for approval of new business license. Request for approval of the following contracts between Weber County and Far West City for recreation, arts, museums, and parks grants. Far West City for the Smith Family Recreation and Sports Park, and to Far West City for the Smith Family Recreation Park Horse Riding Arena. Those are our consent items. Lynn, are you going to give us a little rundown on some of the warrants today?
I will, thank you, Commissioner. The purchase orders, 24 of them, 34,000 or 39% for the paramedic fund for extrication equipment, 17,000 or 20% for landfill with temporary staffing and trailer work, 15,000 or 17% went to the garage for supplies and a gate for the chip shredder, and finally 8,000 or 9% were to the health department for medical supplies.
On the paramedic fund, I can't remember, did we talk about that a little bit last week? Seems like we did, just to mention that we're outfitting a new paramedic rig and trying to expand that service a little bit out through the north and west side. So that's what the extrication equipment is for. Okay, go ahead, Lynn, on the warrants.
All right, the 354 checks totaling just under $4.7 million. 78% of that was $3.6 million going to 3 projects: 20th Street Transportation Project, the 4000 South and Midland Project, and Highway 89 Underpass. All of the rest of them were divided among all the departments, each less than 5% of the total.
Okay, any questions then on those warrants?
I'll make a motion.
Registers?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent items as read.
Second.
Okay, motion and second then to adopt the consent items as read. Is there discussion of that motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. To our action items. Alan, I'm glad that you're here today. I apologize that you had to sit through the festivities here, but we're grateful for you to be here with us and talk to us a little bit about this first item on our agenda, which is consideration for adoption of an amendment to the assessment ordinance relating to the Summit Mountain assessment area. And this is Alan West. Well, John, we'll start with you. John
I'll
Barr.
introduce, yeah. We've got the county partnered with the individuals in the Summit group a couple of years ago and helped facilitate a bond that the owners up there in that area would pay back over a period of 20 years. And so we created an assessment area. That assessment area now constitutes several properties, and we then will have an annual payment from those that are in that assessment area of about 1,700 acres that will pay that bond back. And so our first bond payment will occur this July, and so we've created a billing process for that to all occur. And we've also had our financial advisor, who is Alan Westonsko, and Zions Bank will help us manage the billing and payment of that bond every year. So Alan just had a couple comments to make on this process.
Thank you, John. Commissioner Gibson, members of the County Commission, thank you. My name is Alan Westonsko. I work at Zions Public Finance, and it is great to be with you today. John covered most of everything. The purpose of the action item, when bonds were issued back in August and September 2013, at the time we had 1,700 acres. Is that what it is, John? 1,700 acres. We had one owner, and we had no development. And because the purpose of the bonds was to finance infrastructure, including roads, water, and sewer that would be ultimately owned by public government to facilitate the development of that area. The anticipation at that time was that property would be platted, development would take place, and so on. As that happened, each of those properties has an assessment that is required to make the payment on the bond, as John suggested. So the county is not required to make that payment, but the property owners are, who are benefiting from that. As those properties are platted and development subdivisions are approved, what we want to do is we want to amend what's called the assessment ordinance, which was adopted at the time, that is recorded so that people who purchase property know that there is an assessment that is placed on that property. When we have updated details, we want to be able to amend that assessment ordinance, and we will do this several times throughout the process. This is the first time that's happened since we closed on the bonds. And since that time, we've had, there have been, was the number 115, I think, properties that have been platted now. And we just want to record that so that it's very clear on the legal documents and records who those property owners are, who those properties are being assessed, because as it is right now, it's still just one big lump of sum of properties. And so that's the first item, and we're doing it today because by the end of this week, we will send those first billings out, and we just want to make sure that everything's is clean and tidy on that.
All right. Any questions for either of these two on this issue?
No, I think it's extremely important that it's a very clear process and people know all the stipulations when they buy property specific to the assessment. So.
Well, and this project has been one that we've continually looked at as we've gone forward and made sure that the necessary adjustments were made. And this one seems like a no-brainer. So it's a valuable step in the process. We appreciate our experts, both Alan from Zions Bank and John, for bringing this forward to us. Any other questions on this ordinance?
Ordinance 4.
I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance 4 of an assessment ordinance relating to Summit Mountain Assessment Area.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second then to adopt and approve ordinance number 4. Is there any discussion to the motion? All right, seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner Ebert?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Appreciate you being here, Alan.
We've got paperwork. I'll just give this to Fatima. If you and the clerk auditor can sign this today, I'll pick it up today. That'd be wonderful.
We'll do it.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is our first reading, excuse me. So what we got here is we had a little miscommunication on the language, right? So Lynn, you want to brief us on this? But it's the first reading, it says, on the updated conflict of interest ordinance.
Yes, Commissioners, I was a little overzealous in my interpretation of what the attorney sent me, so I'm inadvertently adding an extra step to this. So today is our first reading, then next week we'll do the second reading, and then after that, the final approval. Really, so this is a the clerk auditor had been reviewing various policies and ordinances, and in reading through our current conflict of interest ordinance, discovered that it seemed like there was something missing. It seemed incredibly overly restrictive. And so we started looking at other counties and seeing what they had, and discovered that Salt Lake County's wording is pretty much identical to what Weber County's is, except they have an entire additional section that makes allowances for exceptions on conflict of interest. And so in consultation with the attorney, we're really just, again, virtually word for word, just changing Salt Lake County to Weber County, and making our conflict of interest ordinance mirror what is in existence in other counties to really make more sense. And really the provision here says that if any employee of the county has a financial interest in any other company that the county does business with, the individual with that conflict isn't involved, or they have to disclose that conflict of interest, and the purchasing will certify that everything was done in accordance with purchasing guidelines and other county ordinances.
So the additional step is that because we talked about it last week, that could have been considered a first reading. This could have been a second, but on the agenda it was published as first.
Correct. Since it was
we'll
listed
see it
as
back
a
here
first.
next year as a second reading as well, or next week. I should say.
Correct. And we probably could have considered this a second reading since we discussed it last week. We wanted to be exactly precise and exactly what the agenda said.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and have a motion then on this, even though we did discuss it in first reading last week. Let's go ahead and have a motion on the updated first reading of the conflict of interest ordinance, unless there's further questions for Lynn before we do so.
I'll make a motion that we have the first reading updated conflict of interest ordinance 2.9. That really isn't the first reading, but the attorney said it is, so we're saying it is too.
I will second that convoluted motion.
All right. Motion and a second then to adopt and approve the first reading of the updated conflict of interest ordinance number 2.9. Discussion to that motion? Okay, and we don't need a roll call vote on that on the first reading, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Steph Ebert, if you'll come work your way to the microphone. Our next item on the agenda is a request for approval of an ordinance of Weber County adding certain fees to the Weber County fee ordinance relating to the sheriff's office.
So this is the first reading too, and really it's a second, right?
No, this is Sheriff Thompson presented the first reading last week, and so I'm here to ask for your approval for the ordinance
So this
as
would
the
be a
second reading for.
It says first
Summit.
reading in the agenda.
Number 3.
Oh, sorry. You're right. I got ahead of
So
myself here.
So it doesn't specifically say second reading, but that's what it means.
I got you.
It's fine.
Okay, we okay with that? All right, okay, because we did hear that presented by Sheriff Thompson last week.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, go ahead and present those to us, Steph. Any comments you'd like to make?
No, most of these fees stay the same as they have been. We've just adjusted a couple, some search and rescue, added some fees for body cameras and dash cams that we haven't really had before. So there really isn't a whole lot on here that's different.
Okay,
So if you have any other questions, I can try and answer them.
I'll make a motion that we, oh, you're not ready for that?
oh, go ahead. Ready.
I'll make a motion that we, ordinance number 5, that we approve ordinance number 5 between the Weber County Sheriff's Office relating to some of their fee ordinance.
Second.
It's always easier when it's the second time, because we've already seen them, and they all look good. We appreciate you presenting those.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion to the motion for final adoption on the second reading of the fees for the Weber County Sheriff's Office, the updated fee schedule? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner Ebert?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that presentation. Okay, Mr. Harvey, item number 4, come on up. This is a request for approval of first reading of an ordinance of Weber County making certain changes to the Weber County fee ordinance relating to county parks. Good to see you, Mr. Harvey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is actually, by definition from the item as written, it's actually not just for the parks, but it would have to do with the recreation facilities, naming parks and then also the Golden Spike Event Center as well. I think it's fairly clearly outlined. We've put a line through some of those changes and then added some of the others. Probably one of the more notable changes has to do with the recreation building. As that fee is increased, the reason for that is there have been times where the exhibit hall would sit vacant and then people want to rent the recreation building, which could ultimately make it so that it's not available for recreation use, basketball games or what have you. And so if they want to do that, there's going to be a little higher fee to do that this year. I think it's a smarter way to do business. But other than that, unless you want, since it's a first reading, unless you want me to go through it word for word. Good, that was the right answer.
I'll look at it.
Word for word. Okay. So with this being the first reading, again, by policy, we will have this back on for a second reading next week. So there's obviously any questions that you have, feel free to ask now or during the week if you'd like.
I got 10 questions. No, I'm just
Okay, all right, let's have a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we approve the first reading of the ordinance of Weber County making certain changes to the Weber County fee ordinance relating to the county parks.
Second that.
Motion and a second then to that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Appreciate you, Mr. Harvey, for all your work.
Thank you.
Item number 5, request for approval of contract by and between Weber County and the Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music for the 3rd Annual Roots and Blues Festival to be held at the North Fork Park on August 21st through the 23rd. Good to see you, Jim.
Good to see you too. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. Really good.
Save the best for last.
Absolutely. We got 3. We got you 3 times in a row here, buddy.
Yes, sir, we do. The request for the Ogden Blues Festival up at North Fork Park. Festival is going to be August 21st through the 23rd up at North Fork Park at Cutler Flats. It's a great festival. It was a good time last year. Got a little rainstorm up there. It was great.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Settle the dust. Okay, this is a contract that we see quite frequently.
Yes.
And we have, I've had the chance to look it over and feel comfortable with it. Commissioners, any other questions or comments on this one?
It's a great concert, and there are phenomenal bands up there, and it's phenomenal.
Well, and the setting is just
It's
a
beautiful.
treat as well, isn't it? It's great.
Snow-capped mountains, maybe not this year, but
Yeah.
in the past, it's
Normally.
beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful.
We're hoping for a little bit more.
Contract number.
149.
I'll make a motion we accept contract number 149 between Weber County and the Acoustic Music for the 23rd Annual Roots and Blues Festival.
Second.
Okay, motion and second then to approve and adopt contract number 149. Is there discussion of that motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 6, Jim, is the request for the approval for the contract by and between Weber County and Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music for the 8th Annual Ogden Music Festival to be held at the Fort Buenaventura on May 29th through the 31st. You know, this was kind of an accident, wasn't it? That they had it at the Fort in years past, and then during the flood year, the Fort was underwater. And
That was
so
2011.
So they moved it up to North Fork Park, and it went so well that they decided to do both.
Yes, indeed.
And so
And
it's
that's
kind of a fun little story there.
the one at Fort Benaventura is another great event down there. It's a good camping venue. I know all you gentlemen have probably been down there before. It's a very good venue for this to happen down there. And right now we've got a lot of pre-sales already done, and so it's a great concert.
It's a treat down there to be in that facility, in that area during this thing. It's one of those things that I think a lot of people miss. They don't realize that that's right there in the middle of that urban setting.
If I don't get a day that goes by that we don't see somebody down there, we didn't know this place existed down here. We had a couple come through from Seattle, Washington. They camped out and was on their way, and it was nice to see them, and they got it online and didn't realize it was right in the middle of Ogden, Utah.
Absolutely. That's neat. All right. Same concert, different event, different venue. Discussion? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve contract 150 by and between Weber County and Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music for the 8th Annual Ogden Music Festival to be held at Fort Benaventura on May 29th to 31st.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second then to pass and approve contract number 150 as read and as presented. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And finally, Jim, our last item on the agenda today, which if you do this just right, we'll get to our meeting that we're supposed to be at in 3 minutes. And
Sounds
we'll
very
be
good.
All right. So item number 7 is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the American Long Rifle Association to hold the ALRA meetings and range days on various days throughout 2015.
That's correct. We traded them off for the meetings that they have down there. They come down for our school groups down there, and they send them out and man to each group down there that we have for the 4th grade through 6th grade kids down there. The month of May is almost booked every day for school groups down there, and they do provide a mountain man down there for that. So it's a great opportunity for the kids to learn the history of the fort and things like that down there.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we accept the contract between Weber County and the American Long Rifle Association, contract 151.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve contract number 151 as presented. Discussion of the motion. Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Jim, for bringing all these good events to our community.
Thank you very much. You gentlemen have a great day.
Okay, thank you. All right, next is our assignment of the Pledge of Allegiance and Thought of the Day for Tuesday, May 5th, 2015. Usually the ones who leave the room before are leaving so that they don't get to this point on the agenda where they could get an assignment, but those who are still here might want to volunteer before I call on them.
Commissioner, I'd like to volunteer Ricky Hatch for the pledge next week.
Okay, we can do that. Is there anybody else who would like to volunteer? You know I'm looking at you, Laura.
I'm getting my hair done.
Okay. Well,
So is Carrie.
First things first. Okay. All right. So Ricky Hatch will give us the Pledge of Allegiance. Thought of the day. Who would that be? Okay. Commissioner Ebert for the thought of the day. Next is item I, public comment. If there's any from the public who would like to comment today, please come to the microphone. State your name for the record.
I think we should recognize Congressman Bishop's representative with us today. You don't need to come up and talk, but he's been faithful every week. He shows up here, and
every week.
We appreciate you doing that, and let your congressman know we appreciate what he's doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I do have something I need to run by you, so if you could come up for a minute afterwards, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, we see no public comment, so with that, we'll move to our final item on the agenda.
I second it.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Can't second it before.
Oh, I second it.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.